Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today. This is Getting Started with Music First. Today's webinar is an overview and guided tour through the MusicFirst Classroom platform. This is a session designed for beginners, that is, teachers who are using MusicFirst for the first time. So think of it as orientation, quote unquote. We'll show you how to navigate, create classes, assign content, and make the most of our integrated curriculum and software tools. So by the end of this presentation, you'll have a basic understanding of how to navigate MusicFirst and utilize its features to enhance your teaching. My name is Giovanna Cruz. I'm head of professional development here at MusicFirst. I oversee the creation of learning materials and professional development experiences. So your teachers, if you're an administrator, and students can succeed with MusicFirst. Before we dive in, let's address some housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and will be shared via email after the event with the registrants. Please also know that there's a version of this session in the MusicFirst Academy, which you can register for at www.musicfirstacademy.com. You can see the URL on the slide. It has these slides. It also has tutorial videos and some additional materials, and you can go through at your own pace. The chat is disabled in this meeting, so please submit your questions through the Q&A option, which is at the top of your screen. We will leave time at the end to answer them. And then know that if you are on Teams on the browser, you might not see the Q&A. When we were testing that last week, that was the case for me, but not for others. So just know that might be an issue. There will also be some polls throughout this webinar for you to interact with, and you will see them in the chat. With me today are here my colleagues, Tori Stroud, who's the head of support, and also Melissa Hartkey, our customer support manager. So thank you for managing the logistics and the production of this webinar today. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. Number one, let me go a little quicker here. MusicFirst as a learning management system. We're also going to cover the interface navigation, the user types and user management, creating and managing classes, content assignments, and those assignments are also called tasks, and then the grade book. Let's just get started over here.
MusicFirst is a full learning management system designed specifically for music education. It includes integrated software titles, curriculum resources, and tools that make teaching and learning more engaging, whether you're a band, choir, orchestra, general music, or music technology teacher. We'll take a closer look at software, resources, content, and classes, all core components of the platform.
All right, so let's start by taking a look at how to navigate the MusicFirst Classroom interface. Do we have the results of the poll or not yet?
We do. It looks like we're 50-50 split with middle school and multiple levels.
All right. Okay. Middle school and multiple levels. That kind of checks out. All right. So interface navigation. So MusicFirst has two main navigation areas. As you can see on the slide, there's a screenshot of the home screen in MusicFirst as you first log in. There's a top navigation bar where you will find several tabs for software, resources, content, and classes. And those help you explore curricular materials, access software titles, and manage the overall structure of your teaching. You can also access on the upper right corner your profile. You can access support, and then you can log out. Now, if you direct your attention to the long bar that's highlighted or made bigger on the right side of your screen, and then on the screenshot itself is highlighted with a red border, that vertical tab is going to show you the access to the task creator. It's a global task creator. You will also have access to the calendar, the grade book, and user management. Now, know that if you don't see the 3-person icon, user management is because you're set up as a teacher. But these are the tools that you will use most often as you build and manage your classes. On this slide, I have a quick video that is going to give you an overview of that sort of overall navigation. So let's watch that to get oriented.
Welcome to the MusicFirst Classroom. We're so excited to welcome you to this community of music educators. Let's start by logging in. Your username, password, and custom URL are listed in the same email that contained the link to this video. Once you're in, there are a few important things to check out. In the top left, you'll find the Software tab. This is where you can find the software tools you've chosen to integrate into your classroom. Teachers and students can launch any of these tools simply by clicking on the icons. Create your first class by selecting My Classes and Create a Class, or by clicking Create a Class here on the right under Dashboard after logging in. Ready to upload students? Head to User Management here on the left. If you don't see this, don't panic. Just check in with support or with your MusicFirst School admin user. You can add students one at a time, but it is faster to bulk upload them. That way, you can even add students directly into classes. Once you have classes and students set up, you can begin creating assignments. Use Create and Task to create assignments using the available software, the MusicFirst embedded audio recorder, or any other basic task type. Looking for inspiration or you're not really sure where to start? Select Content and MusicFirst Library. This will take you to our pre-made library of curricula, units, lessons, and assessments that you can customize to suit the needs of you and your students, or use exactly as is. You have access to all this content regardless of what you teach. We know that's a lot to take in just a couple of minutes, so if you do have questions, you have options. You can click the Support tab here in the top right. Our user guide is all written out, text and image instructions, and our tutorials are all videos walking you through the basics. Here you can also find student tutorial videos, which will help you and students get familiar with their view of the platform. If you're looking for one-on-one support assistance, you can email support@musicfirst.com with your questions or to sign up for a 15-minute check-in. Again, welcome. Let us know if there is anything that we can do for you.
All right, so that was a pretty quick video, and now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each of the aspects that were touched on in the video. So we'll start with user types and user management. Okay. There are 3 types of users in MusicFirst. We have school admins, we have teachers, and we have students. Each of those has different permissions. The admins, of course, have the most control, including the ability to manage users and bulk upload accounts. Like the video said, if you do not see the 3-person icon right here that is highlighted in the image, that just means you're set up as a teacher. So the bulk creation of the students, you need to talk to your user admin at school to be able to manage that. All right, so user creation and management. When creating users, the first question is whether your school is going to be using any kind of single sign-on through services like Google or ClassLink. If you're using one of those services, that requires specific setup, and that connection can streamline the account creation and rostering. So make sure that you or your school have talked to us about that setup. I'm assuming that those of you who are here are existing beginner users, so you probably already have your platform and those decisions have been made. So once those single sign-on decisions are made, you can create users in 3 different ways. Bulk upload, which is available to admins. This would be the fastest way to just bring a large number of users at one time. There's another option for bringing students in one at a time that's available to teachers, and then there's also class invitations. So in the little diagram on screen, you can kind of see the branching trees for the decisions. So first thing is, are you using single sign-on, yes or no? If yes, is it Google or is it ClassLink? And then either one of those two options will create the accounts. In terms of class registration, which is putting the actual users in the classes, if you're using Google single sign-on, you have bulk upload and class invitation options. If you're using ClassLink, it's kind of a one-stop shop, so both the users, the classes, and the rostering will be done by that connection. On the other hand, if you are not using any kind of single sign-on, then the options are the bulk upload for admins, and then one at a time or class invitations for teachers. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and we'll address them at the end. All right, so let's talk about building your classes next. So in terms of classes, you can create as many as you need. You can also add multiple teachers to the same class. That means that if you have a co-teacher, they can be in that same class as you, and they can see the same students and grade the same assignments, as well as issue assignments for the students. And then you can enroll as many students as required. You can build your own content or use materials from the music library, from the MusicFirst library, rather. Teachers can assign tasks or assessments from that content library or from software titles. They can provide feedback, they can manage grades, and curate student portfolios. Okay, so all of that requires the creation of a class first. Then you need to register students in the class. So it's important to distinguish between creating a user and registering them in the class. And so kind of digging a little bit deeper into what we saw a couple of slides ago. So the user creation creates the MusicFirst account. The class registration places the user into one or more classes. So you can register students either from within a class by going to student management and recalling individual students that have already been created, or from user management by selecting multiple students and adding them to a class. So as seen on a previous video, admins also have access to bulk enrollment. Let's take a look in a minute to the process live. So what you see here before I go over live is the first image on the right is if you have existing students that have already been created either by you or someone else, you can just recall them. You can, the next box to the right where it says add new student to, in this case, wind ensemble class, you would create one at a time. Then there's another option for class invitations. That's the image on the bottom left. And then the last one is when you can bulk add students into a class, again, if they've been created either by you in bulk enrollment or someone else. So I'm going to go over to MusicFirst, and I'm going to show you how I create a new class, how I pull in an existing student, how I create one manually, and then kind of show you the bulk enroll process and class code registration. So let me stop sharing here for a moment. And then I have to go to my other screen here. Okay, here we go. All right, so now I am in MusicFirst, and I have several classes already created. If I want to start from scratch, I can go here over to the right where it says create a class, or yes, there. And I'm gonna name my class August 10th webinar class. I have a box for a description. I can make an announcement. I'm gonna leave this blank right now. If I wanna change the color of my banner, I can do so. I think you can also maybe even enter your own hex code there for a color. And I'm going to create a class. So there it is. I have a little confirmation message at the top that my class has been created. And now when I'm going to create students, let me make this a little bit bigger so you all can see it pretty well. I'm going to go over here to the right where it says Student Management. And I'm going to click on students. And so you can see that there's students. Don't pay attention to groups right now. And then there's invitation. So if you want to invite your students, you can click on invitation. And you get to this page where you can download a PDF that looks like this. Sorry, I meant to actually open it. And your PDF will show how to enroll. So students would go, if using single sign-on, they would go to your specific URL for your instance of MusicFirst Classroom. Then they would select sign in with Google to create their account. And once they're logged in, they would select my classes and register for a class and enter this pretty long code in that box. Okay. If they're not using single sign-on, then you'll have your students enter this URL, which is specific to your platform. So it'll have something here right before where it says musicfirstclassroom.com/register. And then they will enter the invitation code provided both in the PDF and or here in your class invitation. Okay, that looks like this. So if they were to go to that register page, they would see this, they would enter that code, then they would enter their information and they would be enrolled. So that is the manual method of class invitations. If you wanted to create students one by one, you would go back to student management, okay? And then you would say, add new student. Then here you could say, for example, R. Strauss, and the student's first name is Ricard, and the last name is Strauss. And they're going to have a password. In this case, I have a password manager, so I'm just going to save it here, but whatever password they enter. And then click Save. And then that student has been created. And that's how you manually create one, and the user has been created and added to the class. Okay. Now, if I wanted to add an existing student, one that is there from a prior year, or maybe your admin uploaded all of your students, but they didn't put them in classes, you could say add existing student. And then here you're just going to search for your student. So I'm going to look for myself in here. And I'm just going to find me. And now I've been added to the class. So those are two methods: the create one manually, adding an existing one. I showed you how to use a class code. The other method, which is available to admins, is to go over here to the left where it says user management, and then click students. And then import users. Again, I'll mention it one more time. Import users is an option only available to those that have the admin role. So for those that have the admin role, when they click the import users button, they come to this page where there's a downloadable CSV template where you would add the students, fill up the template, save it as a CSV file. This is very important. So the file will open in Excel and Numbers, and there's other programs that will open it as well, but you have to save it as CSV. And then you would find your file. And I have one. This is like a cooking show, right? So I have my file ready in here. Let's see, it's in here, and here is my file. La, la, la. It is right here. And I'm gonna open it. I'm gonna show you what the file looks like. So the template will have a required username, a required password. You'll have to keep track of those. But if your students forget, you can always reset it. First name, last name, and the role that your students, in this case, they're students, but the role that the user will have in this case. Students are not required to have an email, and then we can add the class in here. So in this case, my file doesn't have it, so I'm gonna have to do it again. And this was, well, I'll just, you get it here, right? So when over here, you select your file, and then you say bulk import new users. and I do the upload. In this case, because I didn't have the name of the class, it won't put them in the class, but it will create all of my users at once. Here they are. And then I'll click confirm. And now they all exist in here. And so one of them was Bob Dylan. And let's see, upload CSV should be here. Tori, what did I not do right?
Sometimes it can take a second for the poll or for the bulk upload to go through.
Okay.
There are also, if you, for any teachers who run into a similar situation, you can always access our troubleshooting list in the user guide. If you pull up the bulk upload, I might be able to take another look at it. But sometimes it can be small, like clerical, and it looks like everything. Yeah, no, the bulk CSV looks great. It could just be that, it takes a second for the server to come back as well.
Okay. Yeah, after all, it is back to school, so maybe there's a lot of people doing this at the same
Absolutely.
time. But that is how the process works in here. So I'm going to go back to my slides here for a second, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen so I can get back to my slides. Try again in Teams. And present. All right, and I was about here. Okay, so we've seen how the class creation works, how the account creation works, the student registration. And so now we're going to quickly move on to content and assignments. So MusicFirst provides a complete library of courses, units, lessons, and assessments. And here's kind of like the hierarchy and the different types of content available in the MusicFirst library. So courses, which is the top of the hierarchy, include full curriculum sequences. So they include units, lessons. They can also include some assessments in there. Units are the smaller parts of that larger curriculum. So they group together lessons and tasks and assessments on a specific topic. Then lessons contain the teacher and student-facing resources, and they can include tasks and assessments. And then lastly, the assessments are the quizzes and the tests that you can give your students. So we're going kind of from the macro level to the micro level. In MusicFirst, the MusicFirst library contains customizable courses for ensembles, including choir, band, orchestra, along with resources like music foundations, sight singing programs, and everything can be adapted to fit your teacher's style and your students' needs. I'm curious, Melissa, do we know what the results of the poll were for what kind of subjects these teachers are teaching?
It was 75% general music and then multiple.
All right, great. And so as you saw in this previous slide, there's a whole category for general music, which is great. All right, so I'm going to briefly show this live again. We have another session on the content library this Wednesday. And of course, there's a dedicated course in the MusicFirst Academy as well. So I'm going to go back to MusicFirst and show the library and quickly show also how you kind of filter and search for different curricular materials. So let's switch screens here, go home, and here we go. Include sound, and here we go. Okay, I believe you should be seeing my screen. So to get to the MusicFirst content library, we're going to go to the top navigation bar where my arrow is pointing. Can I get bigger here, or am I too big already? Here we go. Oops. Right up here where it says content. Then I click that and I have three options: MusicFirst Library, My School Library, and My Content. We're going to start here, MusicFirst Library. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller again. All right. So this is the content library, and as you can see, it's divided by content areas. We have band, choir, orchestra, music theory, general music, modern band, and then we also have a whole section dedicated just to assessments. So since we have 75%, you said, general music teachers? All right, I'm going to click on this category. And so when you click on the general music category, you're going to see the different types of content available in there, right there in the main part of your screen. And then over on the right, you have the ability to do some searching and filtering. Okay, if at any point you want to switch categories from within this window, you click the drop-down menu and then go to whatever other category you need to go to. You can enter some keywords in here, like for example, let's see, let's say if we say jazz, what comes up? All right, we have some results here for jazz. Okay, if you can also filter by grade level, so and you'll see numbers updated per as you add keywords to your search categories. So you can look at elementary or primary, middle school, intermediate, and so most of you are middle school, but you also teach other levels. And then by type, and these are the different containers of content. The course was the largest one, which is your entire curriculum. Then you can search by units, you can search by lessons, and then you can see assessments. And then down here, there's like some additional topics. To know that we're talking about a course, when you go to the content on the left side, if you see this spiral bound on the left, that is your entire course. As I scroll down, I will see other things. Like this one, for example, it does not have the spiral bound, so this is not a full course. And it'll say here unit, okay? If I keep scrolling, I can find some lessons, which you will see here. And then similarly, you would see if whatever piece of content you're looking at is marked as assessment. So if you click on any course, for example, you will see, you can click it to kind of preview a high level of the course itself. If you want to see the syllabus, you'll click here for syllabus, and it'll have this PDF file that will give you a detail of what's contained in each part of the course. Okay. If you want to see the preview, like I mentioned, you click the title of the course and read a little bit more, and you can see slightly more detail about the different lessons, the tasks contained within, the assessments, etc. You aren't able to actually preview the related content unless you decide that this high level looks attractive to you. And then if so, you would click Use Course Now, and this will pull down a copy of this course into your own content and will create a class for it from where you will draw the materials into other classes, or maybe just simply enroll your students in this newly created class. And that looks like this. If I say Use Course Now, a brand new class called Complete Method for Modern Guitarists is created. I can edit that title, my middle school guitar class, for example. All right, and then you'll see all the material in there. You can update the class, and now you can manipulate the content in it. In this case, there's a lesson, and in that lesson, you can see the student view, you can see the teacher view, and if there are any assessments or assignments, you'll be able to see the submission and grading. Okay, so that's how a course works when you want to use the entire thing. If I go back to the content library, and this time I look for, say, a lesson instead, I just look at lessons. In this case, you can actually preview the student view and the teacher view of the lesson. So you can look at the materials that way. And then if you say use lesson now, then it's going to ask you if you want to put it in a particular lesson, if you want to save it to your favorites. We can dive a little bit deeper on that on Wednesday during the webinar dedicated to the music library. So that's a pretty quick overview of the content library. I'm going to go back to the slides. And let's see. Okay, and then the next thing is software. So MusicFirst integrates directly with a range of different software applications and tools that are great for performance assessment, for creativity, for practice, for music theory, and more. The software, the different applications are accessible from the software tab, which is the one immediately to the right of the home button on the upper left corner. When you click that software tab, you'll see the applications that are in your particular instance of MusicFirst. So what you see on the screen right now may not look the same as what is available to you, because we can customize it to whatever you decided to purchase. And if you click any of those software applications from the software tab, then the software will be launched, and that will allow you to either do in-class demonstrations or play around with the software. If you want to create an assignment that utilizes the software and has your students interact with it, you'll have to do that via what we call tasks. But on a high level, what you want to know at this point is that assignments can pull directly from these software titles, making it easy to craft meaningful, interactive learning experiences. And as I mentioned, your instance of MusicFirst is customized to you, so you may not see all of the icons that you're seeing on this slide. Okay. So before we talk about specific software assignments, I just want to kind of give you the high level of what types of assignments are available in the MusicFirst Classroom. So in the MusicFirst Classroom, we use the word tasks to refer to assignments. And there's 10 different kinds, including gradebook only. And so there's write. Let's see. There are basic tasks like read, watch, write, listen, and to do. So if you go back to the idea that the MusicFirst Classroom is its own LMS, you can ask your students to read some content that you're sharing from the library. You can ask them to watch a video that you've linked in there. For example, you can ask them to write a response to a prompt that you put in there, or perhaps you can have them listen to a recording of their previous concert or some exemplar that they're supposed to respond to, and then you can put a to-do thing for them. Separate from those basic tasks, there's also software tasks. Those are the ones that are going to pull from the integrated software that we saw in the previous slide. Then there's also media tasks for video or audio submission. This would be the type of task where you ask your student to record themselves. For example, I'm thinking of a beginning of the year assignment that you might create for your students where you want them to introduce themselves and perhaps tell you what is their favorite color, so that when you listen to their submission, you can connect with them on an individual basis as they're coming into your classroom, or what have you, right? Or you can have them record themselves via video and submit that. Those are the media tasks. And then there's also discussion tasks for safe, moderated conversations. Okay, so kind of 4 big types of tasks that your students can experience inside of MusicFirst. Let's see. Then there's also the class calendar, which is an awesome, very beloved feature of MusicFirst, which allows you to schedule those tasks very easily by dragging and dropping the lessons and the tasks into a schedule. It allows you to easily organize your course and assignments by dragging and dropping. So when you have pulled things into your class or into your favorites, then you can drag and drop those lessons into a calendar. And then you can control the visibility. So you can do all of your organizing ahead of time and make the tasks visible to your students just at the right time. So I have a quick video here that just kind of walks through this. It has no audio, so I'm going to talk over it. What you see here is the dragging and dropping of an entire lesson into the calendar, and then grabbing the components of that lesson, be it an assessment or something different, and putting it on the calendar on the appropriate date. So the long bar that you see is how long that particular lesson lasts, and then the smaller components that are due on the different days of the week are the different tasks that are part of that lesson. So that's a quick view of the class calendar. Let me go over and show a little bit of that scheduling live. So back to the MusicFirst Classroom. I'm going to go into this demo class I have here. Okay, so what I did was I was home and I clicked demo class. And this is, again, like a cooking show. Again, I had a class pre-built prior to this webinar. So what you see here is that I have some introductions. There's a task here that says introduce yourself. So record yourself saying your name so I know how to pronounce it. Also tell me one thing about yourself that you think is important for me to know to be a better teacher to you. This one is a software task. More on that in just a second. Let me get back here. And then these are some software assignments that I had already created in here, some music theory, performance assignment, etc. So if I want to create a task from scratch, I can go over to the right side of the screen, and from this drop-down menu, I have options, right? I can create a whole lesson from scratch. I can create a whole assessment from scratch, a unit, or just go granular to a specific task. When I click Create Task, then I can put it into a unit if I want to. I don't have to. I do have to give that task a title, okay? So I'm going to say, record yourself, and tell me, I'll just say, please pronounce your name. And because I know that software is it is one of the very attractive features of MusicFirst, I'm going to create a software task here so that you know how that works. So in the type of task, it's going to ask me, what kind of tasks do you want to create? And as I had said, there's the basic types, right? Like write, watch, video submission, to do, audio, read, listen, whatever. This one is going to be a record audio, and then I'll create an actual software one. I have to select what kind of task this is going to be. So I'm going to say record audio, and then I say I want to pronounce your name correctly. Please record your name as I should pronounce it. And then you're going to put a due date and a time. You can select the student visibility, meaning if the box is unchecked, you're creating the task and it's not visible to them right away. But if you do check the task, you do check the visibility, rather, then the task will become visible to them right away. This way you can control how much work they're able to see up front, and can prevent the students from getting overwhelmed, for example, if they see a really, really long list. So today is August the 10th. I'm going to say that this is due on the 14th. It's going to default to 11:59 p.m., but you can change the time of that. And then where it says assign to all, that's the default. But if you don't want to assign to all, you have an opportunity to assign to individual students or even to some groups that you can also create, which we're going to deal with at another time because this is the very basics. So I'm just going to say assign to all a task like pronounce your name. You'd want everybody to know so that you're pronouncing their names correctly and not be like me in my orchestra class that many years ago when I had a student named Kristen. And as if you've noticed, I have a bit of an accent because my first language is Spanish, but I called her Christine all year long because I couldn't hear the difference between Christine and Kristen. And only at the end of the year did she tell me, it's Kristen, not Christine. And I was like, oh my God, why did you tell me that sooner? So had I asked her, all of my students to pronounce their name clearly and correctly from the start, I probably would have prevented that embarrassing moment. Anyway, down here where it says activities, you have the ability to kind of track standards and the type of activity that this is going to be. Again, it's completely optional to do this tracking. And then you can add something to the gradebook or not. In this case, I'm going to just say it's a completion grade, but let's make it 100 points here. And that's it. And then I create my task. So because this is going to use software, which is the MusicFirst, Recorder, which it's one of the software here. MusicFirst Recorder is one of the software. And I'm asking students to record their name. So when I create the task, here's the students that it is assigned to. And then I have this very important button up here on the right. Let me make it big so that you all can see it. This button right here that says configure recorder, super important, okay? Because if I don't click it, the students are going to find an error. So I'm going to click configure recorder, and the recorder software tab opens. As you saw, it opens a separate tab. And then I'm going to tell it, do I want the metronome? Not in this case. I can enable audio upload if they want to record it on another device and then add it here. And then I can also allow re-recording. But these are options up to you. You have an option if this were a musical assignment, you could add a backing track, or if you wanted to even put music in front of them to read against, you could upload that PDF. Once you've clicked that configure in recorder, it's saying settings, autosave, close this window to return to task. Each one of the software applications has its own workflow for setting up the assignments after you click configure in software, but this is one of the most basic ones, so I wanted to show you how to do this right off the bat. So the settings are auto-saved. All I have to do now is close here, and now my assignment or my task is configured and ready to go, so that when students log in on their side, it should work correctly, right? If I wanted to change the date of this, I can go to my calendar. I can do it here from the scheduling, but I also want to show you the calendar in action. So I can view it by week. I can view it by month, which I think it's a nicely preferred way of looking at it, because you can get more dates on screen at once. And you could just grab it and drop it on another day. Okay, so it's just as easy as that. And then if I have other assignments in the class, like you saw when I first opened it, I had a long list of assignments. I can grab them from here and just drop them onto the calendar. Okay, so very easy. When you see that the font is italicized, that means it's not visible to the students. So you have to click on it, and then you will say edit. And then you will say, where's the visibility? Where did my visibility go? Tori, help me out.
Yes, I would try just a simple restart freshing the page.
Okay.
Normally does the case. Otherwise, you can back up to the scheduling box and the task overview.
I'm 0-2 today.
It's always how it's kicking off the meetings. If you try pulling up the assignment name from the calendar one more time. And then, yeah, you'll probably have to go to the view assignment page.
Okay, here we go. So
Yeah,
visible to
there it goes.
students. So if I click this and say update, now it'll be visible to students. So if I go back to that calendar and put it on this month view, and it was the ledger lines, see how the font changed from italicized, which meant not visible to them, to regular, which means visible to them. But the takeaway here is that you can grab these things and drag them and drop them, which is beautiful. All right, so getting close to the time that I want to give people to ask some questions. I'm going to stop sharing here. Really quickly go back to my slides and talk a little bit about the gradebook. So the gradebook is a really nice feature of MusicFirst Classroom because it will bring all the submissions of your students to a single place where you can see them, hear them, provide feedback, etc. So your gradebook is going to look like a grid. It gives you flexible options to view student progress. Again, we didn't talk about groups today, but that's a way to organize your students into small groups, be it because they're in an ensemble and they play a specific instrument, or it's because they're at different levels of progress in your class, so you want to scaffold differently or individualize the instruction. So those are groups. You can look at assignments by marking periods or other groups, or you can view a single student's work across all their tasks. And this makes the grading, the feedback, and the reporting simple and intuitive. So again, I'm going to go back now to the software, to the MusicFirst Classroom, and showed you a pre-filled gradebook that I have. And so I am back here and move my meeting controls out of the way. And so if I go to my gradebook, for example, I have, some different assessment groups is what they're called, where I've grouped into the first 9 weeks several assignments. So I have the one where I want them to introduce themselves. They haven't recorded that yet, but I have assignments from the musician software. I have Aurelia. I have Sight Reading Factory. I have a worksheet from Flat, and I have some practice first. And you can see that some of those submissions have come in. And so when I click on them, if I do it from here, I can change the grade. But if I go to the task itself, okay, and I see the grade, I can see under submission this cloud icon and the date and time that the student submitted it. So if I click on it, then it'll open the software. In this case, it's either Aurelia or Musician. I forgot which one I opened. And it will show me what it was that they did. In this case, it's a test on key signatures. So I am able to see the student answer, what the question was, the feedback that the software gave them, and I can look at one by one each of the questions, the overall of the section, etc. So again, that was a very quick overview of how the software, the MusicFirst software works. I'm going to stop sharing, go back to the slides, because we're about to wrap it up and I want to make sure that we have some time for questions. So close to the end here. I am on slide number around here, I think. No, not yet. Okay, I was here in the gradebook. All right. And so we're getting to the end of our webinar today. I do want to mention that of course, we're here to help. So we provide lifetime support. It's available Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We do have some extended hours this back to school. And you can reach support by going to support@musicfirst.com, or you can call us at the number on the screen, which is 855-896-3344. We also offer 15-minute check-ins. So if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to our scheduling page. And of course, we also have the MusicFirst Academy as well, which has this content and more available on demand and self-paced. So I think we have time for some questions. Let's see what came in.
We got a couple questions from Sarah asking about needing to use a specific software within the MusicFirst library, and if there is the ability to still utilize the content if there's any software titles that is not included in the classroom. And I can pass it off back to you, Giovanna. I also wanted to address for that question that you absolutely do not need to use every single software title for your MusicFirst Classroom. In fact, we would probably discourage that because it's so much content. And you can absolutely use all content within the MusicFirst library. Some content is written specifically for a certain software title, so you can always customize it to include supplemental material or utilize content that doesn't require a specific integrated title to utilize.
Okay, I think you asked it and answered it. So
Sorry.
no, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Do we have another one?
Yeah, we have another question from Gordon who's asking about the MusicFirst recorder, if that's available for all classrooms, and any other apps or content that comes included with the classroom. And so I'll pass it off to you, Joanna, but feel free to tap me back in if you would like.
Yeah, I mean, I believe so that the MusicFirst recorder is included in every instance of the MusicFirst Classroom. And then it is the other parts of the other pieces of software that are customized to each instance depending on what you or your school decided to buy. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely.
Is there another?
Yeah, those are all of the questions, at least that I'm seeing right now. If anyone had just posted a recent question, I'll try to catch that, but I think that is it.
Okay. Great. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Some people didn't have the ability to answer the polls. Yeah, it's a thing with Teams on the browser for some reason. I'm not sure why. All right, well, if those are all your questions, we really want to thank you for having spent the last hour with us. And we do have a brief survey here, so if you could pull out your cell phone and scan that QR code and let us know how we did in this session, I would greatly appreciate it because your feedback is what helps us improve. So with that, I will leave that up there for a minute or so. And then we will bid you farewell and thank you for coming and have a wonderful school year.
Giovanna, we also got one more question just at the end about LTI integration, asking if MusicFirst integrates with Canvas as well.
Yes, it does. It's a brand new integration. And so if you need further information, please email us if you're an existing customer, email us at support@musicfirst.com. If you're not a customer yet, then still email us at support@musicfirst.com, and then we can route it internally to the appropriate individual. But yes, it integrates with Canvas. The flow of things is a little bit different from what I explained today, at least the front end of it, the way that you launch it from your LMS. There's a few additional screens, but the short answer is yes, it does. Email us to get you more info about it. Anything else?
Yeah, we just got a question about the next session for the webinar series, and then also a question about Clever syncing.
Okay, so for the next session, it is this. I'm going to stop sharing screen here while I look for the page that has the registrations. Give me one moment. No, I'm not. Am I sharing? Yes, I'm sharing. So stop sharing. Yeah. Okay, so I don't have to stop sharing. Let me just look for the page to put it on screen. Yes, on our website, we have a web page where you can see MusicFirst.com. Start strong. Okay. So if you go to this URL that I'm going to put on screen, it is musicfirst.com/start_strong. musicfirst.com/start_strong. You will see all of the different sessions that we have available, and you can register for them. The next one is this Wednesday at 4 p.m. and it's called Be Ready to Teach Tomorrow with a Content Library. So we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive than we did today on the MusicFirst Content Library. And what was the other question, Tori?
Regarding Clever rostering, which I can also handle, or I just posted a note that we don't currently offer Clever, but our product and development team is exploring that. So we hope to have that as an option in the future, although we can't confirm like a solid timeline at the moment.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Yep, and I think that's it. But if anyone has questions, feel free to email us.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We are at time. So again, thanks for coming today and have a wonderful school year. Goodbye.